Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your home for all things Washington Commanders. We just got smoked out by the 49ers, and that means we are officially in quarterback evaluation territory. So tonight, we are going to go through all of the potential draft quarterbacks that could be a factor for us, at least the top six guys. Beyond that, we ain't touching that. So we're going to go through these in depth, tell you a lot about these quarterbacks and why they might be a fit in the NFL and maybe the Redskins, Commanders, and why not. Strengths and weaknesses, right? Based on evaluations that are already out there, plus what we saw with our own eyes. We're going to kick it off with the most obvious choice to be the number one overall pick, Caleb Williams. And I'm going to throw it to Mike. But before Mike starts, let me say something. If you remember last year, all of this fuss was made about Anthony Richardson potentially being the number one pick, CJ Stroud being number one pick, and they kind of went chalk, right? Bryce Young was the first pick in the draft. I personally feel like that's going to be the same exact thing this year. You hear about Jayden Daniels being number one overall. You hear about Drake Maye potentially. You hear about Penix. It's going to be Caleb Williams as the first quarterback taken, in my opinion. Mike, what say ye?
I feel like I agree with you, and I'm going to tell you why I agree with you. Starting with Caleb Williams' mental makeup. Based on things that I've heard, based on things that I've seen, I don't think we have to worry about him on or off the field with the way he thinks, with the way he acts, et cetera, et cetera. There was that one rumor that came out a couple of months ago about him wanting a piece of an NFL team if he were to be drafted with the number one pick. Back then, it seemed foolish for him to say such a thing because it was such a foolish thing to say. But talent-wise, it actually was kind of like, well, if you want him, he's been that good. Like, people pondered the thought, which is crazy to think now, especially after the Notre Dame game. But like outside of that, I really haven't seen anything negative. Even when I researched them, haven't heard anything negative. The fans seem to like him, teammates seem to like him. Like, as far as that type of stuff, we're good. Now, when we talk about the physical traits, his arm talent, very, very nice. I'm talking whatever NFL throw you need him to make, he got it, no problem. If you like Sam Howell's arm, good. It's better than Howell's arm. Like, I wouldn't say that. Actually, I probably would say that it's a stronger arm, but it's definitely a more accurate arm. You see him do a lot of things like change his arm motion, the way he throws the ball. Rather, it's like a shallow cross. He can hit it from a regular standing quarterback position. He could hit it sidearm. He could hit it on the run. Like, his arm talent is off the charts. Maybe not as good as Herbert, Mahomes, Allen, Hill. It might not even be good as Kirk Cousins, to be honest with you. Because, like, let's be real. Cousins' arm was special. If anything else wasn't, his arm was, like, up there. But everything else was, nah. But outside of that, like, as far as his arm goes, it's pretty good. Limitations, that's my concern with him. When it comes to reading in the pocket, he still doesn't look like a traditional quarterback would look. Like, I don't think anybody's confusing him with Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck when it comes to deciphering from the quarterback, in college at least. So that may be a limitation. He has happy feet too. Like, I'll be honest with you. There's times where the pockets is clean and he escapes it for no particular reason. He just he's either sitting there, he sees somebody open, but rather runs, and sometimes it looks like he's trying to make the difficult throw for no reason at all. Another kind of thing that I've noticed about him, watching some of his highlights from USC or games from USC, I haven't seen him slide. That's kind of concerning to me, quarterbacks not sliding based off of what we've seen from RG3 in the past. I'm not saying that he doesn't. I'm just saying that the games that I watch, the tape that I watch, highlights I watch, I haven't seen him do it. I'm pretty sure he could do it because it's like kind of an anomaly for a quarterback not to slide, but that's like a concern. But what he does the best, and y'all might think I'm cap saying this, y'all might think I'm lying, but I'm telling you, he can make plays outside the pocket on the level of not only Kyler Murray, not only who else, Russ
Russell
Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah, not only Mahomes. Bruh, I'm going to take it back. He's Romo Steve Young good with it. Like making plays outside the pocket. And that's crazy for me to say for a college quarterback. But I'm telling y'all, when he's moving outside the pocket, pause, that head is looking straight ahead. He's looking down the field. That might not be like something revolutionary or whatever, but you've seen quarterbacks when they scramble, they're not looking to make a play. I can't say that about Caleb Williams. Even when he's moving in the pocket, the ease of his pocket movement is crazy for a college quarterback. Like, it really does look like he's playing Madden out there sometimes. The way he maneuvers that pocket is insane. But yeah, between that and staying calm under pressure, another thing I like about him is his deep ball. Like, he can throw the ball deep, and it's not like he's putting all his strength in it. He's casually throwing these 60-yard bombs. There was one play against Stanford, I think, where the ball left from the 15-yard line and got to the, I want to say 25 or 20. It was a 65-yard pass, like from exit point to entry point of the catch. It was 65 yards. I know we're number 2 right now, but I would love, like absolutely love, if Washington can somehow, some way pull it off and bring him in. I was a bit skeptical, but only because I didn't look at him as much. But there's like no injury history. He had a hamstring in 2022. I think he had a finger issue this year that really didn't slow him down at all. But outside of that, like going 1 or 2 is 100% guaranteed. Don't let any of these draft people play you like they play us at times. Like Ellie said, when we thought Richardson was going to go 1, or when they said Stroud was going to overjump Young or whatever. Like, no. Caleb Williams, 1A at quarterback. Matter of fact, no, I'm not even going to say 1A. He's the one. I like Drake Maye, but after like diving deeper into Caleb Williams, and we're going to talk about him so much more through the offseason, whether he comes to Washington or not. But when you actually watch him, you're going to come away feeling excited about him, whether he plays for your team or not.
Yeah, I totally agree. I sat down this weekend and was starting to watch a little bit of him too. And it was like immediately, it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is different. He is different. One of the critiques I saw on him that I thought was really interesting, I think I sent this to you guys, is that sometimes he gets himself in trouble in the pocket because he takes such a deep drop out of gun or out of the pistol that he aligns like immediately to the point where the pass rush is heading to. So that's definitely something that they're going to have to work on.
I think you dropped off when I was mentioning it, but yeah, happy feet. That's what I called it.
Yeah. When I watch him, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I watch him, his college tape, the name Wilson pops into my mind, and I can't tell if it's Russell or Zach, because he's got like a little bit of, like, he's got the play style. He looks so much like Russell Wilson when he's freelancing like that. And I mean, it's not even a knock on him to compare him to Zach Wilson, because you're talking about college tape, because Zach Wilson's senior year college tape is phenomenal. But there's a lot of similarities, and he's taking those deep drops. He's holding on the ball as long as possible to make a play. There's a lot of that. So it's going to depend. It's going to depend on where he goes and what kind of a system he gets in. But I mean, I wouldn't argue that he's the number 1 overall quarterback at all.
Thanks for bringing up Zach Wilson, because there's one thing I forgot to write down in my notes. Someone, I wish I could remember who said it. They said that his footwork reminds them of Zach Wilson, but it also reminded them of Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. where they tend to lean their weight on their back foot as they're making the passes, not necessarily throwing off their back foot, but more like kind of like how a pitcher throws before they go for it. Like a lot
Not
of their
stepping all
weight
the way
is
through.
on their right. A lot of their weight is on the back foot, so they're like throwing it with most of their arm strength, which Mahomes and Rodgers are able to get away with. Zach Wilson wasn't able to get away with, or isn't able to get away with it. So that is another concern besides his happy feet.
So you said Aaron Rodgers, and that's when I watch him, that's what I think about him, like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. And Brett Favre for like the freestyle playmaking and just keeping plays alive, and then crazy good things happening, and sometimes crazy bad things happening because of it. That's kind of what I see when I see Caleb Williams. But I think as long as you can evaluate him and you come away from that thinking, hey, this kid has his head on straight, I don't see how you cannot take that kid #1 overall. Dude is just potentially
if the Notre Dame game from this season was the worst that he looked in college, or is the worst that he's ever going to look as a quarterback, you're in great hands. Because even in that game, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, this dude is awful. Like, never draft him. It was like, well, dang, Notre Dame kind of tricked them into doing a few things, and I'm pretty sure if they can do it, other NFL teams can do it. So it just kind of depends, like you said, what system he goes to. Like you put him in I'm gonna use him even though he's fired. But Greg Roman, you put him in a Greg Roman type offense, he might not succeed. But you put him in more like I'd say Shanahan. I'll just use the easy answer. Put him in a Kyle Shanahan offense or any offense that's quarterback friendly. You put Caleb Williams in a quarterback friendly offense where the pocket moves, there's screens, there's RPOs, like he's going to cook.
Yeah. And the question will be, can he, there's a lot made about, can he make plays on schedule? I think he can. I think he can absolutely do that. I think he turns it down sometimes for the bigger play, which he's going to have to work on. Like they say, you never go broke taking a profit. He's one of those guys that's going to have to learn to take a profit more instead of trying to, win it all in one throw. But I think he can make plays on schedule. So I'm very, very excited about Caleb Williams. Number 2 on the draft boards is Drake Maye out of University of North Carolina. Eric, why don't you tell us about Drake Maye and what you see in him?
Yeah. First of all, to Mike's point on Caleb Williams and finding a way to move up to number 1, I think if Washington can stay at number 2, that's an ideal trade partner for the Chicago Bears because they don't want to drop too far because I guarantee they've got their sights set on Marvin Harrison Jr. if they're hanging on to Justin Fields. And you're not Justin, Harrison Jr. isn't going later than 3 in this draft unless everybody trades up for a quarterback. It's just not going to happen. So trading from 1 to 2 would net them some extra picks, wouldn't cost the Commanders a fortune, and it's doable. But if they can't pull that off, if somebody jumps them, Chicago decides to move away from Justin Fields to go to Caleb Williams, and we're stuck at number 2, Drake Maye would be a fabulous consolation prize. Drake Maye he's everything you want physically in a quarterback. He can make every throw on the field. He doesn't have the Josh Allen arm, but he's got an arm. There's not a throw he can't make. He is 6'4", 230, 21 years old. He'll be 22 when the season starts. That's a plus. Lots of room to develop. He's very mobile for his size, and the name that jumps out, like watching him, I watched 3 of his games this year, two good ones and 1 bad one. But Justin Herbert is just that's the comp. That's what he looks like, a young version of him. Now he's not as polished as Herbert. I don't think he's as polished as Herbert even was in college. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But as far as like the size, the arm strength, the mobility, the accuracy, he can do all of those things similarly to what Justin Herbert does. And that's a good thing because we don't know what we're going to have, what our team is even going to look like. We don't know who our coaches are going to be. He is what I would call offensive scheme independent. You can grab him and you can plug him into pretty much any offense. He can run, if you want to run West Coast, he can do that. He can run the Coryell, he can, the college concepts. He can do all of that. So he's not somebody that you need to, treat with kid gloves and build an offense specifically to cater to his skill set. His skill set translates to whatever you want to do. If you want a quarterback, if you want to run the ball a bunch as a quarterback, he can do that. I wouldn't call him a running quarterback. He's a pass first guy. Even when the play breaks down, he goes off schedule. He's looking to make a throw. He throws on the run as good as anybody, including Caleb Williams. He can do it. He has that ability to go off schedule. He has the ability to stay on schedule, make the pre-snap read. Now the North Carolina offense, I'd say it's a little more complex than the Longo scheme that they had with Sam Howell. They do some more NFL type things with route combinations and that sort of stuff. But it is, basically it's an easy, where you're going. You should know where you're going with the ball, and it schemes guys open really well in college. But there are some more NFL concepts. So it's not like the Mickey Mouse Phil Longo. I say Mickey Mouse. Phil's a great guy. He was on our podcast. We love him. I don't say that because his offense is great in college football, but it doesn't translate well to the pros. So I think his learning curve. Drake Maye's learning curve, I think, will be slightly less than maybe what Sam Howell's was coming into the NFL, because he has that experience with an offense where they do a little bit more of the kind of things that you're going to see in the NFL. As far as weaknesses go, his number one weakness right now is his feet. He does not have consistent footwork. He doesn't never set his feet, and when he does, he is money. He's money in the bank, but his footwork is inconsistent, and that's a coaching issue. He tends to, similar to Sam Howell, actually, he tends to throw off his back foot quite a bit when there's pressure in his face. Again, he's got the arm strength to make that throw in college, probably in the pros. A good chunk of the time, he'll be able to make that throw too. That's something he's got to work on. He has the ability to change the arm angles, probably not to the Caleb Williams level or the Mahomes level, but he can make a tough throw. He can adjust to make a throw. But yeah, my number one concern with Drake Maye is his footwork at this point. That's something, luckily, that is a flaw that is very coachable, and it's a flaw that probably 85 to 90% of all quarterbacks coming in the NFL have. He's going to need to learn to sync up his feet with the routes. He's going to need to learn to have a consistent base when he throws, because especially in the Clemson game that I watched, which is kind of like his Notre Dame, where he was not good. He had like a sub 50% pass completion percentage. He was under pressure the whole time. Clemson had the receivers blanketed. Clemson just had the North Carolina offense figured out, and there wasn't much they could do. Maye rather, did what he could, tried to make off-schedule plays. But when you have inconsistent feet and when your mechanics aren't where they should be, you're susceptible to games like that. So that's the kind of thing that will happen to you when you're not a consistent passer. So I don't know that, they win that game, because Clemson's defense was on point in that game, and they were chasing points the entire game. I don't know if they win that game if he's got good feet or not, but I think it's closer, and I think he shows out a little bit better. I don't think it was the pressure that got to him, because I watched the Miami game as well, and Miami was all over him the entire game, and he threw 4 touchdowns and he was fantastic. He was throwing dots. Again, you saw the scatter shot a little bit when his feet weren't set right, but he was much more consistent. Made great plays on the run. It was a really fun game to watch. It was a comeback win. They did everything right. Also watched the Duke game. That was just an overtime shootout. It was like 47-45. He was on point that game. Threw kind of a bad interception, but he also threw a beautiful touchdown pass. So it is what it is. You're going to see that again with an inconsistent footwork from your quarterback. That's just what you're going to see. But Drake Maye, to me, like I said, my ceiling for him, I guess, would be Justin Fields. I think he's also got a pretty high floor as a quarterback, unless he never puts any work in, like a Johnny Manziel. He won't amount to anything. But if he just with basic NFL coaching, I think he's probably a top half quarterback in the NFL early in his career. He may struggle a little bit his rookie year, as a lot of rookie quarterbacks do. But I think that he will be a good NFL. I think his floor is decent NFL quarterback. His ceiling is top 5 NFL quarterback. He's legit, and I can't wait to watch him in the league.
And just to correct something, you said his ceiling is Justin Fields. You meant Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I get my Justins mixed up.
Yeah. The thing that kind of jumped out to me with Drake Maye, and he's the one I've kind of watched the least, but I did look at some of the scouting reports out there. Bleacher Report pointed out something to me that really screamed at me a little bit about him in terms of weaknesses. And there was 2. He tends to make bad plays worse by trying to keep the plays alive. He'll throw picks or run himself into sacks. And then he struggles coming off his pre-snap read when the defense shows a different look post-snap than they did pre-snap. I think those things are coachable though. And I think just quarterbacks have learned to let the play die sometimes, right? Rather than trying to be a hero in those situations. Now, when you play for North Carolina, you sometimes have to be the hero and learn to play hero.
He much like Sam Howell, he is the offense in Carolina. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. I think he's going to be excellent too. I think from a comp perspective, I kind of struggled with him. I think you said Herbert, and I think that's what's most commonly out there. And I think I generally agree with that. And there's the thing with that though is the book is still a little bit out there on Herbert too, right? Because he's gone through a couple of coaches and they haven't fully realized his potential. But I think when you watch Herbert, you say, hey, it's coaching that's the issue, right? Herbert has a lot of tools that make you drool if you get him with the right coach. And I don't know that he has been with the right coach yet. So I think I'm excited about Drake Maye as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably, if I'm laying odds, I'm saying 70-30 Drake Maye is who we end up with. I don't think Drake Maye gets past 2. I guess it depends on if the Commanders finish at 2 or 3 and what happens in the draft, but he doesn't. I don't think he falls past 2. Whoever picks at 2 is probably taking Drake Maye.
And and if it's the Patriots, they're taking Drake Maye, no question.
100%, absolutely,
over any quarterback.
How do we know that?
The Patriots?
We don't even know. Like, their whole organization could be different in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but you got to get a quarterback when if you're trying to build from the ground up. First thing you need to do is grab yourself a quarterback. If you've got a chance to
that's what you meant. In the draft order, he won't get past the Patriots.
But look at it this way too. Like, the Patriots came off of 7 Super Bowls, right? With a quarterback that can play exceptionally well from the pocket, is incredibly smart. Just because the Patriots hire new coaches, that philosophy is not going to change. Robert Kraft is not going to let that change. They're going to go for the more traditional pocket passer. To Eric's point, Drake Maye can move around, and he does so very well. But of all the quarterbacks we're going to talk about, I think he's the most comfortable playing from structure and in the pocket. And I think that's what the Patriots are going to look for. No matter what.
The one thing I'll put the caveat too, he took basically everything out of shotgun this year. So playing under center is it's gonna be a thing early on in his career. So coaches, I say he can play in any scheme, and I believe that, but you are gonna have to bring him up to speed. You're gonna have to build around him a little bit early on to get him used to doing more NFL things like that. So, if he comes in like in an Eric Bieniemy scheme and he has to throw 50 times a game and you never run the ball, he's going to struggle. I mean, I don't know of a quarterback that would have succeeded, a young quarterback that would have succeeded than what the Commanders did this year. But it is what it is. I don't think that'll be the case with the next coaching staff. I think, they'll have a solid plan of, they'll run the ball to help him out, and they'll, unless it's Eric Bieniemy, and then he'll throw 50 times a game and never run the ball.
Yeah. So
and only run from shotgun.
Which is the case for most of the quarterbacks we're talking about tonight too, by the way. So your ceiling was Justin Herbert. Your floor was who was your floor again?
I don't know. I don't really have a floor comp. I mean, if he doesn't change anything, I think maybe Will Levis would be a good floor comp for him.
Okay.
And it just depends on how Will Levis develops. But I think that's kind of as far as like the mobility and the arm strength and the physical tools. I mean, Levis is a fair comparison, and Levis has the potential to be pretty good too, as long as they bring him along, or if he continues to progress like he has this year. So we'll see. But I just think I don't think he'll be worse than I don't think he'll ever be like a bottom 10 quarterback unless he just doesn't, like you said, gets his money and goes Ryan Leaf. Like, I just don't see him not being a good quarterback in the NFL.
Or go to the wrong organization.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes to the Panthers or the Jets, I don't know. I won't say the Jets anymore. They're doing things right. They're getting better at that. But yeah, if he goes to
it's so funny. I'm looking at his highlights from this past season, and he does look like the complete opposite of Caleb Williams. Like, every single pass is coming from the pocket, from guard to guard. Like, that's the pass. He's barely moving his feet. Not saying that that's not a bad or good thing. I'm just giving a real,
when it's on schedule, he gets the ball out on time, which is good. But against product of the offense, because you should, the offense is designed to, exactly where you're thrown to, and it makes it pretty simple. But yeah, there's some off schedule stuff in there. Keep looking, man.
Yeah, and I know after
really
the
watched
49ers
the Miami game. He was really good in the Miami game.
Yeah, I saw it, and he had a play against Pitt where like a defender was holding his arm, and he threw it in the end zone for a touchdown. Like, I feel like nowadays, if you're a quarterback and you can't improvise at all, like, don't even enter the draft. Like, seriously.
Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that later. But
well, and listen, guys, I know a lot of folks have really turned on Howell after the last week. He's not Sam Howell. Don't compare Drake Maye to Sam Howell because it came from the same school. He's 6'4". One of the issues with Howell was height and seeing over the line, especially inside the pocket. Drake Maye is not that dude, man. I mean, props to Sam Howell for everything he put on the floor this season, but these are different guys, and just because it came from the same school doesn't mean anything. So.
And Howell did improve a lot, actually. Howell just got spooked. I was thinking of this week. You know who Howell reminds me of these last couple of weeks? Sam Darnold. Like once Sam Darnold went in the toilet, that's exactly what he's
like.
He's
just Sam Darnold. He said that he saw a ghost, and I know that Sam. Listen. No, we ain't even going to talk.
We're not talking to Sam Howell. This isn't Sam. We'll get to Sam Howell later at some point.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, there's a Sam Howell Declassified episode in our future. But all right, so I had Jayden Daniels, who I think by consensus is the third quarterback in this draft order. I heard Mel Kiper talking about he could leapfrog Drake Maye. That one I do believe. Do I think it'll happen? No, but is it possible? Yes, I do, especially when you get to combine workouts and things like that, because I think he's going to impress a lot of people in shorts. Do I think he's going to jump Caleb Williams? No, not a chance in my opinion. I think that's all just hype and hyperbole. He is 6'4", 210 pounds. When you see him, he looks frail. I'm not gonna lie to you. He is a skinny dude, but he's 6'4". So let's talk about the positives because I made some notes here. He is an elite runner at quarterback, right? He's not as juke shifty as Lamar is, but he's a much better runner in open field than RG3. RG3 was a straight line runner. Jayden Daniels is not that. He can avoid you. He can shake you up a little bit, but he picks up a ton of yards on the ground game. And he does it very effectively. One of the things I love about him, and you hear a lot of people say this, is he has improved significantly every single year he's been on the football field. I know because I've been following Jayden Daniels for a long time since he was at Arizona State with Herman Edwards, and he has just constantly improved in his game. He has a low turnover rate, which is what you want from young quarterbacks, because when you get to the NFL, your turnover rate is going to increase a little bit because the competition is always better. So if you start low, you're going to end up low. He makes a ton of big-time throws. I mean, it is just unreal with what he does there. His arm is really good. It's not elite. And I think we've kind of talked about this with most of the quarterbacks in this group, that their arms are really great. They're not Josh Allen arms, though, but you don't need to be effective. He does a tremendous job of evading pressure in the pocket while keeping his eyes down the field. That is something very difficult for young quarterbacks to master. In addition to that, he has pretty good pocket presence, and he will stand in the face of pressure. Now, with a 210-pound frame, are you going to get the durability you want doing that? I don't know, but he is willing to do that. He can throw with touch to all three levels, and he is great playing within structure, which we talked about Caleb Williams. That's a question mark. It's not for Jayden Daniels. He can play within structure, play with things on time. And I had this note because I really love this about players. In the NBA, you hear about Shaq, or not Shaq, excuse me, that's a bad example, but Kevin Durant, for example, will pick something to improve at in the offseason, right? I call it the NBA mentality of offseason. I'm going to work on my post-up game. Jayden Daniels does that every offseason. He'll improve at different things to get better at his game. So as he grows, you will see that. Now, it's not all rosy, right? Some negatives. He can become too reliant on his legs, right? After the first read is not there, he's like, all right, I'm out, y'all. I'm going to go pick up 30 yards on the ground, which sounds great, but that really kind of messes up the flow of the offense sometimes. And, of course, you're risking yourself to injury when you're running like that, right? You want to make sure that you're going through your progressions. Be patient with those progressions because that's how you win big in the NFL. It's something that we're seeing from Lamar this year for the first time, really, and he's in the MVP conversation based on his OC, Todd Monken, and helping him out with that. One of the big negatives for him that's really kind of weird, you don't really think about it, but when Jayden Daniels starts to run, he's running. he doesn't really throw on the run a heck of a lot, right? And so you don't really see that. So if you guys remember back to RG3's rookie year, there was a tell on RG3 that when he started to roll left, he wasn't going to throw the ball. He was running, right? When he rolled right, he would throw. Jayden Daniels, when he starts running, it's over with. He's going downfield. He's not looking to pass the ball. So I think that could be problematic for him in the NFL, right? You don't want to become where it's easy to tell what you're going to do. There's no scramble plays because I'm out, you're bailing. So I think that's something that he's going to have to work on. And I actually think that's a pretty difficult thing to improve at in the NFL. So the big note there, not much to offer throwing off schedule yet. He's either throwing from the pocket or he's going to run. Those are basically the two outcomes that you have there. In terms of comparisons, okay, so I gave you a ceiling, a middle, and a floor. The middle being what I think is the most likely outcome, and the ceiling is if he gets with the right system, right coordinator. The floor is RG3. I think the worst that he's going to be is what RG3 was for us, but just for a longer period of time. Just assume that he's not going to have those injuries. Now, RG3 had us in playoff contention, and some of us believe that we could have really been threats in the playoffs had RG3 not gotten hurt. Now, the question is, how long would that have lasted, even if RG3 was healthy, right? If you ran the same thing out there for 5 seasons, would you have had the same success? I'm guessing not. But that's the floor for me. His middle, where I think he's most likely to come into, is sort of like where Justin Fields is getting to now. A very mobile quarterback that can play and go through his progressions and his reads. And then also I put Deshaun Watson in that same category, like rookie level Deshaun Watson, who was excellent, by the way. But I think a mix between Justin Fields and where Deshaun Watson used to be is kind of where I think he gets to pretty easily without everything being perfect. Now, if everything is perfect, he's Lamar this year, right, out the gate, or within a year or two. He's kind of where Lamar is right now, which is really special. And if you do that, then you have a guy that you can go and win the Super Bowls with.
That's
so
some high praise.
It is. But this guy has all the talent in the world. I mean, he really does. And I think from a raw talent perspective, he may be the most talented quarterback in the NFL when you combine running and throwing the football. He's a much safer prospect to me than RG3 was, because RG3 wasn't as refined as a passer coming out of college in terms of interpreting and reading defenses. Jayden Daniels is. Now you just have to see him be able to do it at NFL level and stay healthy. I'm really concerned about the health factor. He takes violent hits when he gets hit. He runs upright and gets popped a lot. And he gets up. But in the NFL, you're not getting up from too many of those. So that's what I think about Jayden Daniels. And I think, like I said, I think he is definitively the third quarterback in this class. Could some team talk themselves into putting him at number 2? Sure. Would I do that? I don't know yet. But I really, really like what I see from Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I think early on, especially. I mean, I think of all the quarterbacks in this draft class, he is the most. He is most going to be dependent on getting in the right situation, because they're going to have to. Anybody he gets with is going to have to build an offense that maximizes his strengths, which are considerable. And just, they're going to have to minimize the pre-snap reads and the the whole field. They're going to have to do that at least early on, to get him up to speed in the NFL. I don't think he's going to hit the ground running, a full tilt NFL offense right away. What I like about Jayden Daniels is LSU had a ton of talent at receiver, right? LSU always has amazing receivers, good skill positions. Their offensive line was trash this year, and he was under a lot of pressure. And he made big time throws under pressure. He had a lot of comeback wins. He delivered in the clutch. He was really good. Now, a lot of that, again, the offense, much like Maye, a lot of it's just based on, what you see, and they're scheming guys open, and you've got amazing talent. But he still got to deliver the ball, and he did that really well all season long. He had a lot of good high pressure clutch drives, and I think that's great about him. And that's what I look forward to seeing from him in the NFL.
Absolutely. And he's been through adversity, going through the different universities and different coaches, and he's kind of been through the different systems kind of thing. So I feel good about that. I agree with you. You're probably not going to see peak Jayden Daniels his rookie season, because chances are he's going to become too reliant on his legs when things don't go the way they did in college for him. So it's going to take time for him to gain that confidence from the pocket to do everything that he can possibly do. But the guy is just really fun to watch, and he's special. The question is, how does it translate to the NFL? And that is really going to be dependent on system, like you said, Eric, and coaching for sure. Yep. All right, so now we're going to go into that second tier of quarterbacks. We got Penix, we got Nix, and we got McCarthy. And I'm going to throw it to Mike to take us through Bo Nix, who's been in college for what feels like forever.
Yeah,
What
Bo
do you got
Nix
on
was
Bo
in
Nix?
my freshman year biology class.
My goodness. So I'm gonna kind of talk about him the same way I talk about Caleb Williams. Mental makeup seems to be there. I started out at Auburn, played there for 2 seasons. I believe we'll talk about his injury in a few, but he injured his ankle after the 2021 season when he was at Auburn. He transferred to Oregon. And like I said, haven't read anything, heard anything, seen anything that makes me think about can this man, not boy, but this man, this grown man, can he lead an NFL franchise? And yeah, it seems to be there. Arm talent, above average, can make any NFL throw. I've seen him. Trying to think what game it was. I can't remember the exact game, but there was a play where he went from one hash line to the other hash line, but further up the field. It really was an impressive throw. I really wish I could point it out so y'all can see it, but the arm is there. He's no Heineke. Like, just know that. The only limitations that I could think of watching him play is that he's just not dynamic. He's a quarterback, like a traditional quarterback. Can he scramble? Of course he could scramble, but he's not. I wouldn't even say he's a better scrambler than Dak, to be honest with you. Like, it's really like great value scrambling when it comes to Bo Nix, in my opinion. But like I say, it's not like he's a bad quarterback. It's just not dynamic. What does he do best? He's not, like I said, he's not elite at anything. He just seems like to be one of those quarterbacks that can do everything well. His feet in the pocket is good enough. His scrambling ability, good enough. Arm talent, good enough. His vision, good enough. Shout out to my guy Rio. I saw him say a tweet that if he's a 24-year-old super senior, that he should be able to dominate in college. And for the most part, his 2023 tape, it looked nice. Definitely nice enough to be a first-round quarterback. And I think that's the question with Bo Nix. He's kind of that, in baseball, they call it the Mendoza line, where, is he going to be above average or below average, or is he going to be a first-round pick or a second-round pick? It kind of depends on yesterday's, when I say yesterday's, New Year's Day hero for Michigan, J.J. McCarthy. It kind of depends on where he falls up. I believe if McCarthy's a first-round quarterback, you better believe Bo Nix is going to be a first-round quarterback, because I believe Nix is a better prospect than McCarthy. But if not, I really feel like he'll be a second-round quarterback. And what that means for Washington, I don't want him. If we get a quarterback in the second round, I'd rather just stick with Howell for a second season. He didn't do it for me watching this tape. It didn't make me like, yeah, I would rather have him than Howell. It was like, he's all right, but I'd rather just keep Howell. And that's kind of my surface level view of Bo Nix. A good quarterback, but not good enough to take with the top 3 at all.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Auburn football. I went through a phase where I really liked Auburn. I'm not, I like Michigan, but I'm not a huge college football fan to where like I lock onto one team and only watch that team like I do mostly in the NFL. What I'll say about Bo Nix when he was at Auburn was there were a lot of very boring offensive football games when he played there. There just was not a lot happening, to your point about him being dynamic. He can run a little bit, but it's not something that jumps off the page at you. And there were some very low offensive outputs when he was in charge. Now, some of that was part of the scheme. I can't remember if that was Gus Malzahn or somebody else at that point in time, but it was just not impressive. And then he went to Oregon's offense, and Oregon's offense is like very, very simple. And I mean very simple from a college perspective. And he did better which you'd expect him to. So I don't think there's any way in heck that Bo Nix goes round one, or should, personally speaking, right? Because I don't think, my personal opinion, and this might be harsh, but I don't think you're getting a starting quarterback in Bo Nix from what I can see. I think there's other guys that
he's AJ McCarron. That's who he is.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what you're getting. You're getting a backup. You're getting a mid-level backup quarterback. That's what you're getting with Bo Nix.
I wouldn't even give him that, and I'm pretty sure the age is like heavily influencing this decision. But I do see Brandon Weeden. A lot of Brandon Weeden.
He's got a better arm though. Weeden had a noodle.
Yeah, with a better arm. But remember, if you remember, Weeden had a couple of a decent NFL career when he got a shot with Cleveland. But yeah, it was Cleveland and it was him. So
yeah, we and I think the knocks on him are very loud knocks. He crumbles under pressure in the pocket, and he sticks to his reads. Like he's trying to make plays that he can't make, and it just turns into disaster. And so, the Oregon offense is get the ball out quick, do this, it helps them. In NFL, I feel like he's going to get exposed on all kinds of levels. And I say stay far away from Bo Nix.
I think he'll be one of the quarterbacks. I'm trying to think what's a good team he can probably fit in. New Orleans, maybe?
DC Defenders?
No. There you go with that UFL. Shout out to Dwayne Johnson.
That's hilarious. Let's talk about
I don't see him starting for any team in the NFL. I really don't, unless he's a backup.
Yeah,
New Orleans or.
I honestly would be surprised if he goes in the second round. I think he's a third round quarterback, and I think coaches are going to see that. I think teams are going to see that. I think the earliest he goes is third round.
Earliest, I agree. Remember last year, Hendon Hooker went in the third round, and he had a lot of promise, and we all kind of hyped him into the first round. Bo Nix is definitely lower than that.
Somebody hyped him in the first round.
Might have been me,
but I think was a little bit more sane.
I am not
Hooker in the first round.
It was wild times in spring 23.
It was. All right, Eric, take us through Michael Penix, probably the most popular quarterback today.
He's playing in the BCS. He's playing in the national championship game this year. This next week. I'm going to be honest. Michael Penix, he's another 36-year-old senior. He's been in college, and I've literally been in college since 2018. He'll be 24 when the league year starts. He has unquestionably the highest floor of any quarterback in this draft class. He is a finished product coming out of Oregon. His footwork is on point. He's a very accurate passer. He's good against pressure. He'll stand in there. He'll make every throw. He's got an NFL arm. Doesn't have an elite NFL arm, but he's got an NFL arm. He's not going to struggle to make a throw to hit a 15, 20 yard out. He'll be able to do that if he has to. He is a whiz in the pocket. He gets the ball out quick. Watching him, I watched USC and Oregon were the two games that I watched from him. And he was almost, I think this might be because of the left-handed thing, Tua-like and how quickly he processes and get the ball out. He is really good at getting the ball out quickly. He does not hold the ball. I didn't look up the stats of how long the average hold time is. I guarantee it's under 3 seconds. He gets the ball out quick, and he's able to dissect the defense. Very smart quarterback. He can dissect the defense, and he can process any changes that occur, after the snap. He can make, he makes good decisions. He's one of those guys that hits the back foot and the ball's out. He is a fantastic processor. And he's just, like I said, highest floor of any quarterback in this league. He's very good. The knocks against him, the number one knock for me is not his age, because I don't think he's 23. He's not that old. 24 rookie. It's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. For me, it's can he play off schedule at all? He's like the anti Caleb Williams, where if he's on schedule, he is on point. But if he gets moved off of his spot or something happens, I saw a lot of tip passes for him. And it's if he gets in trouble, if things break down, how is he? And that's the concern. Now he had a beautiful touchdown pass against USC where he got forced left, which is luckily his strong side. He threw a really nice touchdown pass. So the capability to do it is there, but it's the consistency. It's like, can he do it? Throwing on the run is not something he did a ton of. And I was watching him and I'm like, man, all I could think about was Minnesota, like how good he would be under Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. I'm just the whole time I'm like, God, he would be so good for Minnesota. And then it clicks because he reminds me so much of Kirk Cousins. Like he's very similar to Cousins in that he is just he's a quick processor. He gets the ball out quick. He knows exactly where to go. But he has some limitations when things go awry, I guess would be the way to put it. I said he's got the highest floor. I don't think he has anywhere near the highest ceiling because I think he's very close to his ceiling. Like today, I don't know how much better he's going to get when he gets to the NFL. I don't know how much better he needs to get, honestly, though. I think he's going to get in there. And I think I would not be surprised at all if he gets drafted and early in the season, like everybody's talking about how he's the best quarterback in the draft class because he's so close to being NFL ready. More so than anybody else. Because like I said, he's got the footwork, he's got the technique. He's been in college for 9 years like Tommy Callahan, but that's why, right? So, he's done it. The other knock that I would have against him is the injury history. He's, like I said, he's been in college for 6 years because he's had 4 season-ending injuries so far. When he was at Indiana, he was out for the season every year in Indiana. He had 2 ACL tears and 2 shoulder injuries. So that's a little scary. His last 2 seasons in Washington, he's been healthy the whole time, so good for him. But yeah, he's got the injury. He's been bitten by the injury bug quite a bit. As far as where he might go in the draft, like I said, he could go anywhere from like mid first round to mid second round. I could see Minnesota taking him. I could see he would be really good in year 1. If Kirk Cousins leaves under Kevin O'Connell's offense, he could slide right in there and they would barely miss a beat because Minnesota, if he's surrounded by playmakers, he's going to be just fine. I can see Denver. I can see Sean Payton wanting a piece of him. Denver's currently like 14th, I think. That's not unheard of, like not out of the question for him to go that high. If somebody falls in love with him, Pittsburgh is another team that could like him depending on what they do in the offseason. I could also see him dropping into the second round easily if those guys are a little scared off by his injury history. And he could even go to Minnesota in the second round if he's still there. Because, it's just a question of like, it's a risk reward question. The other one, I think if Sean McVay got a hold of him, he got to sit behind like Matthew Stafford for a year, how good he could be under Sean McVay. If he gets with a good coach and a quality system, I mean, he's going to be a legit quarterback. As far as his ceiling, I say legit quarterback because I think his ceiling is like top half quarterback. I think he's like Kirk Cousins is my comp for him. I think he's going to be like, if you put the pieces around him, he's going to put up numbers like Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott or somebody like that. And there's going to be talk of him maybe being a little better than he actually is. But I think that's his ceiling. I think probably like, top 15, 20 range quarterback. I think that's where he's at. His floor is probably a high level backup. I think he's going to be that Jacoby Brissett type. If at the worst, I think he's going to have, if he stays healthy, he's going to have a nice long career. Could be as a starter, could be as a backup. Andy Dalton comes to mind. Like he could be that kind of quarterback where he's just a smart quarterback, knows where to go with the football, but he's got a low ceiling. He's got a very high floor and a very low ceiling. I guess that's the way to put it for him. So I'm excited to watch where he goes because I think, again, like all these guys, situation's important. But like I said, I would love to see Kevin O'Connell get a hold of him because I think that's probably his best chance for success is running an offense like that. So there's Michael Penix for you in a nutshell.
I love the Kevin O'Connell call out because I think you're right. The thing with Penix, you can't undersell his injury history. He has 4 major injuries that he suffered in college that could be problematic because they were all ligament cartilage related injury, not cartilage, significant
tendons.
Ligament issues. Tendons. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Thank you.
He had something like temporoclavicle, sternoclavicle. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like it hurts.
And a couple ACL tears too, right, to go with it. So the injury history is hyper problematic for me for a guy like him. I love Michael Penix, though, going back to last year. I just don't know if you can trust him to stay healthy in the NFL. Like, how many injuries is he away from his career being over, right? Or is he like at risk of re-injuring himself? Those are questions that the medical work at the combine would need to answer for you. And I think if you get those answers, then you're in pretty good shape, right? And that's why the combine is going to be so special for him. He's bigger than I thought at 6'3". I didn't realize he was that big because he doesn't look that big when he's playing. I think one thing you said about him, you talked about his accuracy, like his ball placement is very good. Where we talked about with Bo Nix, and even I didn't say with Jayden Daniels, but one of the issues with Jayden Daniels is his ball placement isn't great. He's accurate, but the ball placement isn't really NFL high level yet, right? He'll throw it behind you. He'll throw it to you when he should be throwing ahead of you, things like that. You don't have that issue with Michael Penix. Like out the gate, he knows where to put the ball and he puts it there. I think his ceiling is Drew Brees. And you're going to say, oh my God, Drew Brees is great. No, Drew Brees was a really good quarterback that got to play in the same system for like 20 years, right? With Sean Payton. Like the system really helped Drew Brees too. I think Penix, if he got in the right system, and that's why you said Sean Payton, I'm like, yes. And he stayed with Sean Payton for a long time, and Sean Payton really built to his strengths. I think you can get some really high quality quarterback play. The concern is just the injuries for me, man. I don't know if I could trust him staying whole in the NFL with that injury history. So I think there's a possibility if the injuries push him into round 3. I don't know. It really depends on what happens at the combine. And it's recency bias a little bit with the game last night, but I think that there are some significant concerns about his body. But if those get put aside, I think he's probably round 2. I don't know if I see him going round 1 personally yet.
That's fair.
I like him, though. I like him a lot. All right. To finish this up, I had J.J. McCarthy. And full disclosure, I'm a University of Michigan fan. You guys who listen to this podcast know by now. If you don't know me by now, you will never know me. My family, born, raised, and bred in Detroit, Michigan, except for me. I was born in Virginia. So I came into this game. I really love J.J. McCarthy. Then I watched the game last night, and I'm like, I think I like him a little less now. I don't know why, but I'm going to get into this. But I do like J.J. McCarthy. Let's talk about his strengths. He is super intelligent when it comes to playing quarterback. He throws a very good deep ball. In fact, he's best when throwing the ball down the field. He is the ultimate gamer. Now, if you guys know me, you know I hate gamers at quarterback because I just want talent at the position, not guys that just play hard in games and make something out of nothing. He throws with anticipation, which is something that's hard to do at the college level. He's a good mobile runner. You saw that against Alabama. He stays alive in the pocket while keeping his eyes downfield. He has good pocket presence at times and decision-making relative to that pocket presence and timing. He can place the ball very well, does not always do so. And he throws well on the run. He runs that scramble drill to perfection. And you got to get into the cons of J.J. McCarthy. By the way, he's a very slight athlete as well. His arm is not elite. His accuracy can be a little inconsistent in short and medium throws. You saw it against Alabama. He had a receiver running wide open on a drag route and threw it behind him. And that receiver fell down when he caught the ball. They didn't get the first down. He's only 205 pounds. He's a small dude. He gets stuck on his first read. He will force the ball to his first read. He can be late on in-breaking routes and out-breaking routes as well, like out routes, which is a problem because that's pick six city all day. He'll get himself into pressure. He doesn't identify the blitz as well as he should. And so, those are all things to me. And I'm like, God, I really like J.J. McCarthy because he plays for Michigan. But if it's me, J.J. McCarthy is not a first-round quarterback. I think there are some things that he can really, really do well. And I think if in the right system, he could probably function as a probably lower third-tier starter in the NFL. But I think he's kind of always going to be that bridge guy for you trying to find the real guy, right, that you want running your franchise. Unless he maximizes his gamer abilities and, he just really plays in and out of structure the way that you want him to at all times. That's possible. It's very possible. I'm not writing him off as a starter. I just think, man, it's going to be tough to really keep him in play. So the comps I came up with him, his ceiling was Brock Purdy. When I watch him, I kind of get reminded of Brock Purdy a little bit. I know Brock Purdy is like the flavor du jour this year, but Brock Purdy is in the exact right system for Brock Purdy. I don't know what Brock Purdy is in a bunch of these other systems in the NFL. If JJ McCarthy can find his Kyle Shanahan, I think you can get Brock Purdy type results. What I think is most likely is Teddy Bridgewater. I think he could be a Teddy Bridgewater type that's probably a little bit more mobile than Teddy Bridgewater was. But he's an effective starter. He's not a guy you're like, hey, we got the best quarterback in the league, but you also don't have the worst quarterback in the league. That's what I think the likely reality with him is. His floor is Aiden O'Connell with the Raiders. Is kind of what I see. Aiden O'Connell's making some plays. So the Raiders going to stick with Aiden O'Connell long term? I don't know, man.
They should.
It feels like they could. They for at least for another year, right? But I feel like there's other opportunities out there. I didn't want to go with the Brock Purdy comparison because I think that was sort of like the easy comp there. But I do genuinely think that what you're getting from Brock Purdy this year is something that JJ McCarthy, quote unquote, could do if in the exact right situation. I don't know what that is yet in terms of current NFL offenses, but maybe like the Seattle OC, who I very much want to be in consideration for the Commanders, Shane Waldron. I think could do something really well with him. Overall, I think he's a high-level game manager who can be an effective starter in the right scheme. I think he's probably more of a third-round quarterback. I think he can get taken higher if teams get desperate for him. But I love what I see from him, but I think he's one of those guys that's probably going to be a better college quarterback than he is a pro quarterback. And then, like I said, if in the right place, he could have a really good pro career. So that's JJ McCarthy for me.
I'm just going to say, if a team gets desperate for JJ McCarthy, they effed up their offseason bad.
I agree. And I love McCarthy. I'm glad he plays for Michigan. I'm glad he's our guy. I just, realism is realism, All right, so we kind of went through all of the quarterbacks here. I'm going to ask you, Mike, which one of these quarterbacks do you want for the Commanders?
Honestly speaking, I wouldn't mind Caleb Williams or Drake Maye, but I do feel like Daniel's ceiling is the highest out of the three. It could be because I'm up the street from Lamar Jackson and I get an up close and personal look at him and the Ravens. But I don't know. Like with Caleb Williams, you see the can't miss prospect. With Drake Maye, you see the very technician type quarterback play. But it's just something about those. I don't know, the RG3s, the Lamar Jacksons, the Michael Vicks. It's just something about those quarterbacks where when you see with Lamar, when they hit, they hit. I think about Vic when he was in Andy Reid's offense, the beginning, or was it? Yeah, it was Andy Reid's when he was in Andy Reid's offense after he was released from prison. Like it was spectacular. Like what we're talking, I think. Was that Reed? No, it was Chip Kelly when he threw the 4 touchdowns on Washington in week 1. But I want those type of performances. I would love to see another RG3 Thanksgiving from a quarterback like Jayden Daniels. Like, I want that. Like, I need that. And I feel like that's the way the NFL is heading with the explosive, running, dual threat quarterbacks. So as much as I like Williams and Maye, give me Daniels.
Yeah, especially because those guys make you say, hey, the rest of our offense personnel doesn't have to be perfect for us to be highly successful.
Right.
That's the appeal of those kinds of guys to me anyway. Eric, what about you? What do you think is the best fit for us without knowing who the OC is going to be?
I was going to say, it's very hard to say because I just don't know who's going to be here.
I should have said that too.
Jayden, the thing about Jayden Daniels is, like you said, when they hit, they hit. And when they miss, they miss. They miss. So it's hard. I have nothing against Jayden Daniels. I don't know that he's the right guy to oversee a rebuild or to kind of be the steward of a team that may take a year or two to hit the ground, to get the ground running. And he could be, right, because you could be, work out all the kinks with him. For my money, I mean, I would take Caleb Williams first overall if you can move up. If you can get a deal with Chicago to move up and they move to 2. Both teams end up happy in that scenario, depending on, what the Commanders would have to give up. So I'd have no problem. I would not be angry at all if they moved up and took Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams is a can't miss as a lot of people do. Maybe there's definitely going to be an adjustment period to the NFL for a guy who made his career off of running around and not getting caught when everybody in the NFL is a lot faster than everybody in college. Things are a little different. So, and Johnny, I don't think he's Johnny Manziel at all, but I mean, it's kind of like, what Johnny Manziel found out. I don't think that's the case with Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a pretty good. I still think Russell Wilson is like the most, for me, that's what I see when I watch Caleb, watch him. Caleb Williams is Russell Wilson. And if you can have Russell Wilson for 10 years, you roll with that, right? Worked out well for Seattle. Again, and as I said before, Drake Maye would not be a bad consolation prize at all. So Caleb or Drake, either way is fine. You don't have to really build your whole offense around their strengths because they can do a lot of different things. So that's who I'd roll with, Caleb or Drake, regardless of who the staff is.
Yeah. I think, man, I love Caleb Williams' potential. I love Jayden Daniels' game. And I like Michael Penix's refinement and polish, right? So I think it's Caleb Williams or bust for me. Then after that, I think it's Jayden Daniels because of the excitement factor. I think year one, you're already having 2012 all over again, which excites me. But I think I'm cool with Drake Maye too, because I think he has the potential. We just got to get the OC that knows how to get all of that out of him. And then if we go the Penix route, I wouldn't be mad. The problem with that is
if you go Michael Penix, that means you got Joe Alt or Oshu Fitsanu in the first round, and I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, man, although it will be tough to pass up a quarterback when we have a chance to get one of the top 2 guys, but they better really believe in Penix though, if they go that route. The other guys, I don't even want us to touch. I don't even want us to think about. I don't think that Bo Nix is going to come in and give you more than Sam Howell gave you this year. I think J.J. McCarthy could, but I don't want to find out. I'd rather be a fan of J.J. McCarthy from afar rather than him being D.C. So I think it's go get Caleb Williams, get Drake Maye, or figure out something to do in the first round and then come back and get Penix later if he's still there. So, yep. All right. This was the QB prospect declassified episode. We'll see what the team decides to do. What do you got, Eric?
There's a game this weekend. Did you know that? There's one more game this season. Are we going to at least give a score prediction?
There is. It's the Cowboys, and we know.
And that's what I was about to say. I know they better not win on Sunday. I know that.
I mean, Cowboys show up
Cowboys have a lot to play for, too. Yeah. So,
start Jake Fromm.
Please start Jake Fromm. Mike, what's your score prediction for the Cowboys game? I totally forgot.
All right, I'm going to be serious for the end of this show. Give me Dallas 95. No, I'm joking. All right, Dallas 38, Commanders 13.
13. Oh, who do you think starts the game too, by the way?
Rivera Obama. You know he's going to start Howell. Even though there's no reason to. You know he's going to start him.
And there's every reason to start Howell.
Well, for us.
Because Brissett at least gives you a chance.
I forgot.
Move down. Yeah.
I forgot his hamstring could be better. I wasn't even putting him in the equation. He better not start Brissett, man. If it's between Brissett and Howell, it has to be Howell. But if Brissett isn't healthy, I'm with E. Start Fromm and I just want it to be over.
I think Josh Harris will call down and be like, "Nah, your hamstring still hurt. He's sitting. we're not missing out on this pick." Yeah. Ron could try to pull a Lovie Smith on us this year. I don't think it's going to happen though, because I think to Eric's point, Josh Harris is not letting that happen. So, Eric, what's your score prediction? I'll go 30 to 14. I think Dallas gets up and they pull their starters. So
Yeah.
I don't think they go full on blowout, but I think it's not close. It's going to look a lot like the San Francisco game did, maybe not as close as halftime.
Yeah, Dallas has real Super Bowl potential based on how they played this far. I don't know. They're not going to get there, but I think they have the potential to do it. I don't think they're going to risk injury at all for this, especially because they can beat us without their top line guys. I think you see CD for a few drives. I think you see Dak most of the game probably, but I think he's not going to be moving around a lot. And I think you see Pollard for some of the game. I think it's going to be they're going to take their win and get out of there. I think it's going to be 28-16. And I think you probably see both Howell and Fromm in this game. I don't think there's any way Jacoby Brissett starts. And I think that's how this Rivera era will end. So we will talk to you guys next week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, help us beat the algorithms. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And we'll be back at you very soon. Commanders Declassified. What do you got, Mike?
Just pointing at the sign.
Oh, okay.
Or trying to point at the sign.
He was miming something over there.
I'm not a weatherman, so I'm not used to like the orientation of the screen. But
right.
Like and subscribe.
That's it. With that. And we are out of here. We appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you soon. We're out of here. Peace.